So let's go over more stimulus information. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Here's what I want you to know. The last round of child tax credit payments will go out today, but more stimulus is on the money.
To provide $12 million in compensation to its CEO. And meanwhile, the reason it made this money is because during the pandemic, these workers, unbelievably, they were working 50, 60, 70 days in a row, sometimes 12 hours a day in order to feed America. I talked to a guy there who worked 120 days in a row. Can you imagine that? That's totally insane. So these workers literally put their well-being, their families, their lives on the line in order to feed America, in order to keep the company going. And then the company's response was to the strike is, well, we're going to cut all of your health care benefits. So you got workers out there who have no health insurance now. We're going to bring in replacement workers. Oh, yeah, I know you have worked for me for your whole life.
About 39 million families have been receiving the monthly child tax credits of $300 to $250, depending on their children's ages. And since parents will get the sixth and final payment direct deposit today, some people may have to wait longer to receive checks in the mail. The total child tax credit is $3,600 or $3,000 per child, depending on their age, but only half of that amount is from the monthly payments. Families receive a monthly payment of $300 per child under the age of 6, and families will receive $250 per child ages 6 to 17. That means a family of 4, 2 parents, 2 children, could expect a child tax credit payment of $500 to $600. The amount is the same every month, but could change based on a child's age. If a kid turns 6 years old, more money is added to the family. And the IRS determined eligibility based on the 2019 and 2020 tax return. Nearly 88% of children qualified for the benefits. The good news is that more money is on the way. The $2.2 trillion Build Back Better bill could also make the expanded child tax credit fully refundable on a permanent basis, which will also benefit people with low incomes. Before the crisis, low earners could only get part of the tax break as a refund, while high earners could get its full value. Low earners were not able to be eligible for the credit if they made less than $2,500 a year. And is also being supported by multiple economists and lawmakers in Congress. Now, previous news surges have pushed lawmakers in Washington to act to help relieve the financial hardship that is being faced by the economy. 6 members of the House and Ways and Means Committee have sent a letter to Biden urging direct payments to be approved. The White House has said that the Biden administration will consider a plan put forth by Congress. More direct payments have support from at least 80 Democrats in Congress, although 3 letters have been sent to the White House since Joe Biden took office. They haven't specified an amount, though. In a letter, legislators called stimulus checks a lifeline for people who had their lives upended by the crisis. Now, lawmakers state that only Americans deserve to know that they can put food on the table and keep a roof on their heads. So, lawmakers estimate that a 4th and a 5th check could keep an additional 12 million people out of poverty. And it could reduce poverty from 44 million to 16 million when additional payments are combined. Unemployment, while not a perfect measure of a state economy, is often the indicator that is used as a proposed automatic stabilizer. Thank you again for your support, everybody. If you have any more questions about this, leave them in the comments below.
2 in 3 Americans want the federal government, quote, to cut back on spending and printing money, end quote. That's 2 out of 3 Americans want the federal government to cut back on spending and printing money. But our Democratic colleagues spent the last several months trying as hard as possible to do exactly the opposite. Washington Democrats have spent months trying to borrow, print, and spend trillions more dollars right into the teeth of the worst inflation in almost 40 years. They've sought to turn their monthly welfare entitlement with no work requirements from a temporary COVID measure into a permanent policy. Cash welfare with no work requirements literally forever. 76% of Americans say these handouts haven't helped their families at all. Yet Democrats want to dump many billions more. Just step back and look at all the ways their left-wing wish list could hurt a young family in middle America. First, they need to cross their fingers that the private or employer-sponsored insurance they chose to meet their family's specific needs isn't shoved off a cliff in Democrats' latest lurch toward more socialized medicine. And they'll have to hope their war on the medical innovation sector doesn't prevent the development of life-saving cures their family might have relied on some years down the road. Say the family got one or two young kids. Maybe their ideal arrangement is a church-based daycare. They need to say a prayer their faith-based center isn't sued and chased out of business thanks to Washington Democrats' toddler takeover. Their plan would give nothing to full-time parents, grandparent caregivers, nanny shares, or neighborhood co-ops. It would push faith-based providers out of the public square by design, and it could inflate daycare costs, listen to this, by up to $12,000 or $13,000 per child per year.
Nomination, United States Agency for International Development, Atul Atmarang Gawande of Massachusetts to be an assistant administrator.
Madam President,
The Majority Leader.
pursuant to Senate Res 27, the Judiciary Committee being tied on the question of reporting, I move to discharge the Senate Judiciary Committee from further consideration of the nomination of Holly A. Thomas of California to be United States Circuit Judge for the Ninth Circuit from the Judiciary Committee.
Under the provisions of S-Res 27, there will now be up to 4 hours of debate on the motion, equally divided between the two leaders or their designees, with no motions, points of order, or amendments in order.
I ask for the yeas and nays.
Is there a sufficient second? There appears to be. The yeas and nays are ordered.
Now, Madam President, I want to begin today with some celebrations. Recently, our dear colleague and friend, Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island, cast his 8,000th vote as a senator, a remarkable milestone for one of the most beloved and respected members of this body. A lifelong Rhode Islander, a graduate of West Point, and the dean of the Rhode Island Congressional Delegation, Senator Reed is one of America's best examples of doing politics and public service the right way. No fuss, no nonsense, just results. Over the years, he's been a mentor, a friend, and an invaluable resource for countless members on both sides of the aisle. Few in this chamber can match his expertise on matters of national defense, veterans affairs, and the military. I'd also add that same can be said about matching his attendance. Over the years, he's missed just 38 votes on his way to 8,000, good for an attendance percentage of 99.5%.